The Nazis had superior engineering, but the Soviets had overwhelming firepower. Discover the 12 legendary steel beasts that broke the German war machine forever.
Mosin-Nagant, M1891-30. This was the rugged spine of the Red Army, a bolt-action rifle that had already served the Tsar long before it served the Soviets. Simple, long, and firing the powerful 7.62 by 54 millimeter rimmed cartridge, it was accurate enough for snipers like Vasily Zaitsev, but durable enough to be used as a club in trench fighting. While the Germans had smoother actions, the Mosin could be dragged through the mud, kicked and frozen, and it would still fire when the trigger was pulled. It remains one of the most mass-produced military firearms in history, with over 37 million built, proving that quantity has a quality all its own. Next, PPSH-41. Often called the Papasha or burp gun, this submachine gun became the symbol of the Soviet soldier in street-to-street fighting. It fired a high-velocity pistol round from a massive 71-round drum magazine, allowing a single infantryman to unleash a storm of lead at 900 rounds per minute. Its stamped steel construction meant it could be built in automotive workshops with unskilled labor, yet its chrome-lined barrel gave it surprising longevity. German soldiers on the Eastern Front often abandoned their own MP-40s in favor of captured PPSH-41s, simply because they rarely jammed and held twice the ammunition. Moving on, SVT-40. This was the weapon that was supposed to replace the bolt-action rifle, a sophisticated semi-automatic designed to give every soldier rapid-fire capability. It was ahead of its time, comparable to the American M1 Garand, but it required careful maintenance that the average hastily trained Soviet conscript couldn't provide in the middle of combat. While it eventually fell out of favor for the simpler Mosin, it was highly prized by elite naval infantry and enemy forces alike. In fact, the German G-43 rifle system borrowed heavily from the SVT's gas operating mechanism. It remains a fascinating what-if of Soviet small arms history. Next, DP-27. Nicknamed the record player because of its distinctive pan magazine that spun on top of the receiver, this was the standard light machine gun of the infantry squad. It was robust and portable, capable of laying down suppressing fire despite having a relatively slow rate of fire that helped prevent overheating. The pan magazine was notoriously difficult to reload and heavy to carry, but the gun itself was virtually immune to the dirt and grit of the battlefield. It served on every front, often mounted in tanks and aircraft as well, proving to be a versatile workhorse for the Red Army. Moving on, T-34 medium tank. This vehicle didn't just change the war, it changed the entire concept of tank design forever. With its sloped armor, wide tracks for navigating Russian mud, and a highly efficient diesel engine, it rendered the standard German anti-tank guns of 1941 completely useless. The T-34 shocked the German high command, who had no idea such a superior tank existed, forcing them to rush the development of their own Panther tank in response. Though it suffered from cramped ergonomics and poor optics, its ability to be mass-produced in the tens of thousands allowed the Soviets to simply overwhelm superior German engineering through attrition and speed. Moving on, KV-1 heavy tank. Before the T-34 became famous, the Kliment Voroshilov, or KV-1, was the unkillable monster of the battlefield. Carrying armor so thick that German shells would simply bounce off, a single KV-1 was known to hold up entire enemy divisions for days, crushing anti-tank guns under its treads. However, its immense weight destroyed transmissions and bridges alike, making it sluggish and difficult to maneuver in offensive operations. It was eventually phased out in favor of lighter, faster tanks, but its psychological impact during the early years of the invasion was incalculable.
IS-2 heavy tank. Named after Joseph Stalin,
This beast was the Soviet answer to the German Tiger and Panther tanks. Equipped with a massive 122mm gun, it fired a shell so heavy that the kinetic energy alone could knock the turret off an enemy tank, even if it didn't penetrate the armor. While it suffered from a slow reload speed due to the size of its ammunition, its thick, sloped armor allowed it to spearhead breakthroughs into fortified German lines. It was the ultimate battering ram of the late war, symbolizing the crushing momentum of the Red Army as it rolled toward Berlin. Next, Katyusha rocket launcher. Officially known as the BM-13, the troops called it Stalin's organ because of the terrifying howling sound its rockets made when launched. Unlike precise artillery, the Katyusha was an area saturation weapon, firing a ripple of 16 rockets in seconds to blanket an entire grid square in fire and shrapnel. It was cheap, mounted on simple trucks like the Studebaker US-6, and terrified German troops more than almost any other weapon due to the sudden, unpredictable nature of its bombardment. It marked the birth of modern multiple-launch rocket systems, proving that volume of fire often trumps accuracy. Moving on. IL-2 Stormovik. This ground attack aircraft was so heavily armored that pilots called it the flying tank, while German infantry, terrified by its low-level strafing runs, called it the Black Death. It remains the single most produced military aircraft in history, designed to fly directly into the teeth of anti-aircraft fire to bust tanks and supply trains. Stalin famously telegraphed a factory manager, saying the Red Army needed the IL-2 like air and bread, highlighting its critical role in Soviet strategy. Its rear gunner position was notoriously dangerous, with a life expectancy measured in mere missions, yet the plane's ruggedness ensured the Soviet Air Force controlled the skies over the battlefield. Next, TT-33 pistol. While officers and tankers needed a sidearm, the Tokarev TT-33 was the standard-issue choice, replacing the antiquated Nagant revolver. Heavily influenced by the American Colt M1911, but simplified for easier mass production, it fired a high-velocity cartridge capable of penetrating heavy winter clothing and light cover. It lacked a manual safety, which led to many accidental discharges, but its incredibly flat design made it comfortable to carry and conceal. It was a no-frills tool for a brutal war, serving as the last line of defense for millions of Soviet commanders and political commissars. Moving on. PTRD-41 anti-tank rifle. In the early days of the war, when anti-tank cannons were in short supply, this single-shot behemoth was the infantry's only hope against German armor. It was essentially a massive barrel, firing a 14.5mm armor-piercing round, capable of punching through the thinner side armor of early Panzer tanks or disabling their tracks. The recoil was punishing, often bruising the shooter's shoulder after a few shots, but it was simple enough to be produced in the hundreds of thousands. As tank armor got thicker, its role shifted to destroying light vehicles and pillboxes, remaining relevant until the very end of the war. Next, ZIS-3 divisional gun. This 76mm field gun was a masterpiece of artillery design, celebrated for being lightweight, easy to conceal, and dual-purpose. It could be used as indirect artillery to shell enemy trenches, or lowered to fire directly at tanks with devastating effect. Its carriage was so well-balanced that a small crew could manhandle it into position through mud and snow without needing a vehicle, allowing for rapid redeployment. The ZIS-3 is widely considered the best field gun of World War II, producing a volume of fire that earned it the affectionate nickname Dossier from its crews. These weapons were not built for comfort or aesthetics, they were built for survival. From the screech of the Katyusha to the thunder of the IS-2, the Soviet arsenal was a reflection of the war itself, massive, brutal, and unyielding. They turned the tide of history on the Eastern Front, proving that in a war of attrition, simplicity and reliability are the ultimate sophistication. By 1945, the red flag over the Reichstag didn't just signify a victory of men, but a victory of the machines that carried them there. These weapons were not built for comfort or aesthetics. They were built for survival. From the screech of the Katyusha to the thunder of the IS-2, the Soviet arsenal was a reflection of the war itself. Massive, brutal, and unyielding, they turned the tide of history on the Eastern Front, proving that in a war of attrition, simplicity and reliability are the ultimate sophistication. By 1945, the red flag over the Reichstag didn't just signify a victory of men, but a victory of the machines that carried them there.